Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. And this story begins 6 minutes before the party started. She was in the hallway, holding a necklace that I had bought for her 2 birthdays ago. I only noticed because she wasn't wearing it. She was rolling it between her fingers, the way someone might fidget with loose change before throwing it away. "You're going to be late," I said, watching her from the kitchen doorway. She didn't look up. Then came the sentence. Not a scream, not a fight. Just 7 words that opened a pit under my feet. "I'm not going with you tonight, Lowell." I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at her bare neck, then at the shoes she hadn't fully buckled. Her lipstick was already on. She wasn't halfway ready. She was ready, just not for me. She finally glanced over, like she'd noticed my silence, like she was expecting a reaction. "I'm meeting someone else there. We've been talking. And I don't want to lie anymore. He's waiting at the bar." No crying. No explanation. Just that. I don't know why my eyes landed on the grocery bag by the door. Inside it was a bottle of wine we both liked. I'd picked it up as a surprise. I suddenly felt stupid for caring about corkscrews and temperature and how long it should breathe. I walked over, took out the wine and handed it to her. "If he's already waiting," I said slowly, "take this. Pairs well with disappointment." She hesitated, mouth open slightly. I turned away before she could close it with words. She didn't know that my phone had already captured our entire conversation. She didn't know what I'd left under the driver's seat of her car. She didn't know who else was going to be at that party tonight. But she would. And I'd be watching the moment she found out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't throw a fit. I walked out like I was late for something, which, in a way, I was. I sat in the car with my hands on the steering wheel, engine off, listening to the sound of her heels clicking inside the house. Her silhouette appeared in the mirror as she stepped outside, paused for a second, then walked to her own car with the calm confidence of someone chasing something they didn't deserve. The drive to the party was silent. No music, no GPS voice. Just me, gripping the wheel harder than I needed to, thinking about how we used to laugh on these drives. About how she used to reach over and touch my arm during red lights. Tonight, the passenger seat felt colder than the air conditioning could ever explain. I parked 2 lots over. Not because I didn't want to be seen, but because I wanted to see. Her car was already there. She had beaten me. Of course she had. She wasn't late. She was eager. The building was glowing like something from a dream. Tall glass windows, golden lights flickering from wine glasses and chandeliers. I could see people inside smiling, hugging, already sipping on champagne. And then I saw her, at the bar, laughing, tossing her hair back, leaning slightly toward a man in a navy blue suit. It was surreal seeing her like that. Not sad, not guilty, just somewhere else entirely. And yet she still wore the bracelet I got her for our anniversary. As if that gave her the right to pretend nothing was broken. I walked past the main entrance and headed toward the side door. That's where the audio techs usually went in. I knew because last year I got locked out and had to sneak in the same way. I took out my phone, opened the hidden camera app I'd installed just an hour earlier, and clipped it to the inside of my jacket pocket. Tonight, I wasn't just a guest. I was a witness, but I wasn't watching alone. Not anymore. The back hallway of the venue was quiet, dimly lit, and smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and panic. Or maybe that was just me. I moved slowly past stacked chairs and catering carts, my pulse louder than my footsteps. I stopped just outside the banquet room, cracked the side door an inch, and watched from the shadows. She was still at the bar. He was still beside her. They were standing closer now, too close for coworkers. She laughed again, her hand brushing his jacket like it was an accident. But it wasn't. I knew her tells. That was the same laugh she used when we first met. The same gentle touch she once used on me when she thought I was charming instead of pathetic. The man she was with was younger, taller. That shiny kind of confidence that smells like expensive cologne and unpaid child support. I wasn't jealous. I was embarrassed for ever thinking I was enough for her. But I wasn't here to spiral. I was here to finish something. I pulled out my phone and opened the group chat I'd created 2 days ago under a fake name. Event Memories. 2023 highlights. Everyone from her team was in it. Executives, assistants, even the VP of operations. The group had been silent since I'd added them. That would change in 10 seconds. I uploaded the audio file, the one I recorded back at the house, where she told me she was meeting someone else. I attached a message. Before the speeches start, here's a little behind-the-scenes moment from tonight's guest of honor. Play it loud. And then, I hit send. Took only seconds. Inside the ballroom, someone's phone dinged. Then another. Then I watched as a woman near the appetizers tapped her screen and froze. Her eyebrows shot up. She tapped the shoulder of the man next to her. He listened. His mouth dropped open. Shayla's back was still turned, unaware that the storm had already started. People were staring now, not at her, but through her. The man in the navy suit shifted uncomfortably, checking his own phone. His eyes darted toward the exit. Then came the moment. Someone connected their phone to the party speakers, and her voice, cold, detached, calm, echoed across the entire room. "I'm meeting someone else there." She flinched so hard she almost dropped her glass. I didn't walk in. Not yet. I wanted her to feel what it was like to be seen, completely, truly seen, at the exact moment her mask cracked. The silence that followed her voice was louder than the music ever was. You could hear forks pause mid-air. People who were mid-sentence stopped speaking. The lights didn't dim, but it felt darker. Shayla stood frozen, facing the bar, her posture suddenly small in a dress meant for someone certain. The man beside her leaned slightly away, like whatever game he thought they were playing just got very real. She turned slowly, scanning the room as if she didn't quite understand what had just happened. Then her eyes locked with her boss, Mr. Adwell, a stern, clean-cut guy who had always given me the impression that he only ever smiled during tax returns. He was holding his phone, expression unreadable. His wife stood beside him, arms crossed, and just over their shoulders, 3 of Shayla's co-workers huddled, whispering and not even pretending to be subtle. And still, she didn't see me. I was behind the corner near the service hallway, hidden by an open tray cart, watching through the cracked door. I could see her chest rise and fall like someone coming out of cold water. She scanned the room again. Her eyes flicked toward the speaker system, then to the man next to her. He was already backing away. She whispered something to him. Maybe, "Don't move" or "Stay calm." But it didn't matter. He shook his head and left his glass on the bar without a word. He didn't even glance back. The crowd didn't part for him. They just watched. Shayla stood alone now. Alone in a room full of people who had just heard her end our marriage like a voicemail. That's when I walked in. I didn't sneak. I didn't rush. I walked through the crowd like someone headed to return something broken. No one stopped me. No one tried to make it less awkward. In fact, someone actually stepped aside for me, like they knew this was a scene meant to play out. She saw me. Her jaw tensed. "You," she hissed, eyes wide. "You did this." I tilted my head, acting confused. "Me? I thought we were done lying." For the first time in years, she had nothing to say. No spin. No saving face. And I wasn't done. Not even close. Her eyes didn't blink. Not once. She just stood there, caught somewhere between rage and panic, trying to figure out how to reclaim a moment that was already gone. The room was deadly quiet, like a courtroom waiting for a verdict. The music hadn't come back on. The laughter hadn't resumed. No one moved. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a small manila folder. It wasn't fancy, just something I'd picked up from the office supply closet that morning, never expecting I'd actually go through with this. I walked up to her, close enough to see her pupils dilate, and handed it to her like I was offering her the check at dinner. "What is this?" she asked, voice sharp, but lower now. Her hands trembled as she took it. "Open it." She didn't. Not immediately. She looked around, at the people still watching, at the cameras on the wall, at the empty spot beside her where her affair partner had stood only minutes ago. I could see her calculating. What was in the folder? Photos? Papers? A letter? She had no idea, and that terrified her more than anything else. Finally, she peeled it open. Inside were 10 printed screenshots, messages, emails, voice memos, all of them from her and him, her new someone else. I'd found them the week before on a shared laptop she thought I never used anymore. She had signed into her email and never signed out. A rookie mistake. One of the screenshots had the timestamp from just 3 nights ago. I wish he'd just leave. I hate pretending. I'm so close to being free. She read that line twice. I know because I saw her lips move as she mouthed it. Where did you get these? She asked, breath catching. I didn't hack you. You just forgot to log out, I replied, loud enough for the nearest 3 people to hear. I was going to pretend I hadn't seen it, but then you told me you were meeting him tonight, and I realized something. She looked up, almost hopeful. What? I leaned in just slightly and whispered, You're not worth hiding the truth for. She stepped back. For the first time, Shayla looked smaller than the room. She clutched the folder like a purse, trying to hold it shut even though everyone already knew what was inside. I didn't wait for her to say anything. I turned and walked away, toward the exit, but I didn't leave. Not yet, because there was still one more person in the room who needed to hear what I had to say. I reached the far corner of the banquet hall where the lights didn't shine as brightly, and leaned casually against one of the support columns. From there, I had a clear view of him. The man in the navy suit had returned, not to stand beside Shayla, but to linger awkwardly near the buffet, as if picking at shrimp skewers could erase what had just happened. His confidence had cracked. His jaw was tight, his hands twitchy. He didn't know if he should stay or vanish, but I was about to help him decide. I motioned to the event coordinator, a woman named Lorna I'd met briefly the year before, and handed her a folded note. Can you read this before the toast? I asked gently. She hesitated, eyebrows furrowed. Is this appropriate? Very, I said, and overdue. 2 minutes later, she tapped her glass for attention. A few conversations died down. Some people turned toward her. Shayla stayed planted near the bar, still clutching the folder. She knew something else was coming. She just didn't know what. Before we move on, Lorna announced into the mic. Someone asked me to read this on their behalf. I've been told it's a personal statement. Please listen respectfully. A beat of silence. Then she began. There's a man here tonight who told my wife she deserved better, who said she was too good for someone quiet, someone boring. He said all the right things while hiding all the wrong ones. People started turning. Faces scanned the room. I saw the man in the navy suit freeze, mid-sip. You called me forgettable. I remember every word. But you forgot something. Married women aren't trophies to be stolen. They're people. And so are the ones they leave behind. Now everyone was staring at him. Lorna read the final line slowly. Clearly, you weren't her escape. You were her excuse. I didn't need to point him out. He was already turning pale. He dropped his drink. And then, like a guilty magician, he disappeared into the crowd, heading straight for the exit without a word to anyone. I exhaled, not in triumph, but in clarity. He was gone. But she wasn't. Shayla was still standing there, shaking. Her night wasn't over yet. Neither was mine. I stepped out into the cool night air just as the heavy glass doors closed behind me. Sealing off the chatter, the music slowly returning, and the echoes of everything that had just collapsed inside. My heart wasn't racing anymore. In fact, for the first time in weeks, maybe months, there was silence in my head. Not the kind that made you feel alone. The kind that meant there was nothing left to figure out. I walked down the stone steps toward the parking lot, thinking maybe I'd just get in the car and drive. No direction, no plan, just motion. Behind me, I heard the doors creak again. I didn't turn around. Lowell, she called out. Her voice cracked. Please don't leave like this. I paused at the bottom of the steps but didn't look back. I didn't trust myself to. I wanted to keep the image of her frozen in that room. Exposed, cornered, speechless, because any other version might soften something I couldn't afford to soften. She jogged up behind me, heels clicking against the stone, and grabbed my arm. Can we talk? She asked, trying to catch her breath. Privately, just you and me. I finally turned. Her makeup was slightly smeared under her eyes, and her necklace had shifted awkwardly, the clasp now sitting right under her collarbone like it didn't belong there. She looked human, tired, scared, and somehow still trying to control the moment. "There's nothing left to talk about," I said, my voice calm but final. "You had months to talk. I had minutes. I didn't plan for it to happen this way," she murmured, eyes darting like she was trying to find a softer version of the truth to hide behind. "That's the problem," I replied. "You planned everything else." She opened her mouth, closed it again, and then, with trembling hands, she reached into her clutch and pulled out the cinnamon mints I'd left for her earlier that night. She looked at them like they were a grenade. "I saw these and I knew I messed up. Too late," I cut in. "You brought another man to a room full of people who used to respect you. You brought him into our life. And I brought the truth. Now we're even." She stepped forward. "But I'm done," I said, stepping back. "You can explain yourself to the silence. That's the only thing still listening." And then I turned around and walked to the car. For good this time. The drive home was quiet, but not the kind that aches. It was clean, like a chalkboard wiped down after too many scribbles. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't rehearsing fake conversations in my head or rewriting moments that had already passed. I was just breathing, just existing, and it felt oddly good. I didn't cry when I got home. I didn't scream. I made myself a cup of peppermint tea, which I never liked before, and stood barefoot in the kitchen while the cat rubbed against my leg, completely unaware that anything in the world had changed. The next morning, I woke up early. I opened the curtains wide. I deleted her contact. Then I took a walk to the park I hadn't visited in years, bought a journal, and sat down on a bench under the same oak tree where I'd once told Shayla I wanted forever with her. But this time, I didn't write about her. I wrote about me, what I'd allowed, what I'd ignored, and what I was no longer willing to be silent. It took weeks for the calls and texts to stop. First, she was angry, then apologetic, then desperate. But the thing about the truth is, once you speak it out loud, you can't go back to pretending you didn't hear it. I didn't go to war with her. I didn't need revenge. I had clarity. 6 months later, I started seeing someone kind, who laughed at my dumb stories and actually listened without trying to win the conversation. But more importantly, I liked the person I was when I was alone. That was new. Shayla lost me that night, but I found myself, and maybe that's the better ending. Thanks for watching Reddit Confessions. Now it's your turn. What's one historical moment you wish you could have witnessed in person? Maybe something that changed the course of the world, or changed someone's life forever. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories that remind us. Sometimes the worst endings lead to the best beginnings.